points, those 3 bonus points. He was ridiculously impressive yesterday, getting a ton of firsts, getting a ton of high placements. I'm expecting him to win the whole thing, but we'll see if that happens. We're getting into game 1.
Yep, we're going to be starting off with Wei Jin's board. Yesterday in the interview, he said he was going to be going tier start every game, looking at Kai'Sa, but being flexible. And hey, guess what? There's a tier start from the opening carousel for Wei Jin Iverson. Really solid gameplay yesterday. Scored 39 points, which is incredibly high. Was absolutely dominant in the day 1 lobby. I know he mentioned to us he felt like he was high rolling a little bit, but he also feels like he is a top 10, top 15 player in North America right now. And if you think you're that good, you should be good enough to get through the LCQ.
You know, Setsuko agrees with him, putting Wei Jin Iverson in his top 15. So, you know, maybe there's something to it, but yeah, he said he was high rolling, but as always in TFT, just because you high roll doesn't mean you make it through. You could be the 15th best player in the field, high roll completely to a position that any other player would have gone first and made it to the final lobby, and still just not be good enough, not be able to capitalize on that high roll. Just because Wei Jin Iverson high rolled doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be here. He clearly played very well around the Kai'Sa, around these high rolls he was given. Already offered another Kai'Sa in this 1-4 shop, so things looking good already.
Yeah, good spot already having that tier. The belt, maybe not exactly what Wei Jin wants to see, but he still might be able to get one more item and find a really solid start for this Kai'Sa, start to maybe win streak. He's also looking for one more Lagoon here, so he can start stacking that up.
Yeah, solid opener if he is going to go for the Kai'Sa. I wouldn't be surprised if he just forces Kai'Sa off this tier start and the early one immediately. And honestly, the entire lobby has to be looking at this and seeing Wei Jin Iverson's success on Kai'Sa. They know he might be the best Kai'Sa player in this lobby. They see he has the angle. That's going to deter anyone else from going for that. And when everyone else is deterred, he gets it uncontested. He gets to hit easier and have a higher chance of going first.
All right, well, the augments that are offered, Better Together, Warrior Crest, Sunfire board, none of which being, you know, your favorite thing to see when playing Kai'Sa. Sunfire board can be just fine, though. It takes care of the healing reduction, so you don't have to worry about that. But just noticing on the side of our screen, Sully just hit a Kai'Sa 2. That may be a True Twos pick. We'll see in just a moment when we get all of those augments shown up on the screen. But if not, that is just Sully finding a natural Kai'Sa 2, which would be rather crazy here on 2-1.
Yeah, Sully with the Kai'Sa 2. Soul Reaver actually hit a Yone 2, so we might be seeing a good amount of reroll this lobby. Sully could also be using that Kai'Sa to just push levels, or he could decide, you know, I have the early Kai'Sa, depending on his items, depending on his augments, he could just go for it off the early advantage. We'll have to see what his spot is for that comp and see if he is going to contest Wei Jin Iverson.
Yeah, and you know, Wei Jin Iverson in the interview yesterday said that he believes Kai'Sa can support 2 players, but it cannot support 3. So we'll keep our eyes out on how many players decide to commit for it, or who is going to pivot off, or just use it as a win streaking device, as Kai'Sa is just one of those stronger early game carries, and you can put items on her that pivot really well into late game dragon boards.
Yeah, we're hopping on board with Spicy Appies now. He took the Mirage Crest for 3 Mirage, I guess, but it did give him a Nunu, and he is able to slam a Sunfire Cape, so already got a pretty strong opener, able to take just a 1-unit loss versus Wei Jin Iverson, as we see. This is an opener that Appies could consider playing Yone out of, depending on the Mirage, and the Mirage's game is Duelist Dexterity, just because Soul Reaver already has a Yone 2, and the Warrior Crests. Well, now I'm looking at 4 Yones. I don't know if Appies wants to contest this.
Yeah, that gets a little bit tough. I mean, there is consideration to just play towards Deja as well. Even though she's been a lot less popular, it's still, you know, Duelist Dexterity, very strong version of the Mirage, and you've got the Mirage Crest already, so you can start to push those higher traits, maybe even look for 8 Mirage Duelist Dexterity very, very quickly.
Yeah, he already has the bow on the bench, an open component for Deja. Sunfire Cape is saving him health. Yes, these are losses, but they are much better losses than you were taken without slamming the Sunfire. Finds the Zippy early. You want to generally be playing towards Guild when you're playing around the Deja. It's actually quite expensive to hold Zippy early, especially if you hit like Zippy pair, but just the one Zippy. You can 100% tech this in as your level 5, maybe put it in over Nunu, sell that off, put it in over the Sejuani. So Abby's got a couple options with his early game right now.
Yeah, and of course the losses that he's taking, not bad. If he can keep the loss streak with a high HP, can be very nice for Appy's economy. And it seems like his board isn't strong enough to win too many fights. It's in one of those good spots where it's going to have very soft losses, but it does feel like Appy's is strong enough if anyone is playing more of that open fort style that Appy's would be able to end up picking up a win and ruining his streak.
The opposite him, we have Sag, who is level 5 on 2-3 with the Shimmer Scale already. +1, we see the Shimmer Scale item this game is Mogul's Mail. Mogul's Mail, I feel like it's among like mid-tier Shimmer Scale items. It is good because it's very consistent gold generation. Generally, you're going to be getting that bonus gold from that item reaching 40 stacks from taking damage, but it's not like Goldmancer stat where you have the potential to rack up like 6, maybe 8 gold a round depending on RNG. So it's just a consistent source of income, and a lot of players have been saying hitting early Shimmer Scale is just so good because of how hard it gets your econ going early.
Yeah, of course, that can be huge. And Sag, of course, moving towards that with Shimmer Scale Heart, making sure that they've got the access to Shimmer Scales very easily. I wanted to note that Sully was not True Twos. That was a natural Kaisa on 2-1. It is Jeweled Lotus for Sully. And we see Metabolic for Trick P, so we'll have our eyes on if that ends up being a lot of value throughout the game. It seems like Trick P is already going to be generating a good amount of HP. Other than that, pretty standard stuff across the board. With second win CBs, a couple just general augments.
Yeah, hopping on board with Soul Reaver, who we pointed out has the 4 Yones, and honestly, with one bow with the Warrior Crest already, I think you can just straight up force Yone from this spot. I think that you 100% need as many bows as you can. I'm just so happy I get to finally talk about Yone. We didn't really see it much yesterday. I'm like, ooh, yes, it's my comp. Let's talk about this. So he has the one bow. Generally, you really want rapid fire cannon on this champion. This champion just barely exists without that item. Yes, a lot of people have been pointing at Ginsu's Rage Blade, but in my experience, if you don't have a rapid fire cannon, he just walks around, he just takes a bunch of damage, he doesn't get to actually do his thing. So you really need as many bows as possible. Just off the Warrior Crest isn't quite enough to necessarily play this comp unless you're a 2020 degenerate like me. So him having the bows early, already a good sign. Him having a solid opener, he has 100 HP win streaking. He's in a good spot to play Yone.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a very nice spot having the 4 of them already. Having a bow, as you said, needs a little bit more, so we'll see what happens on Krugs for Soul Reaver, but at least this composition has been very strong, and I think Duelist Dexterity is going to be one of the best versions of Mirage to be playing this in.
Yeah, probably the comparable one is going to be Executioners. Both of them are just the most amount of damage that Mirage can provide to Yone. So it's a good Mirage for him. 4 Yones on 2-1. I mean, that's already going to give you direction. And we talked yesterday about the flowchart style of TFT and how, especially in this meta, it's so good to just get your direction early, have something to commit to. And the best players in this field are going to be the ones who can play around that direction. And for Soul Reaver, he has his direction. Is he going to be able to hit? Is he going to play around it well?
Well, he's able to maintain his win streak through Krugs, and we jump on with Sully, who has actually maintained a loss streak through Krugs here, having a Kaisa 2. Maintaining a loss streak with Kaisa 2 is pretty interesting how that happened, having Jeweled Lotus with an IE, so definitely an angle to go in that direction, but also could play to some other late game composition. Just going to be able to get that value with some AP character by just having the IE and being able to put just a higher ability power item instead of the Jewel Gauntlet.
My inkling is that his frontline wasn't great for the Kaisa. Just because you have the Kaisa 2 doesn't mean it's automatically going to get a ton of work done. It really does need that frontline to support it, just like any comp really. But for him, he also took out the Kaisa just to maintain this 5 loss, which is totally correct. Yes, you end up at 56 HP, but it guarantees you have the econ, and I think for Sully, you especially need to get some good items. He didn't start tier off Carousel, I believe, Wei Iverson did. So he need the tier. You need the 2 tiers for this Kaisa. There is a possibility he decided to open fort just for item priority, which when you have the 2 Kaisas, when you have such early direction, is definitely a viable option.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see where Sully is able to go from here. He was one of our bonus point earners from day 1. He had finished 3rd place on day 1, gets that 1 extra point. He was playing really solid, but he was one of the players that was very consistently finding those top 4s. A lot of the time Sully playing from, you know, a win streak position instead of a loss streak, but I wouldn't have said so much about him doing that compared to someone like Renzer, who was consistently finding way more success from that, you know, 100 HP hyper win streak kind of style. Sully was able to play a little bit more flexible yesterday, and we'll see how he's able to do from 44 HP on 3-1.
Yeah, he open forted for item priority. The thing is, it is very hard to play from behind right now, even on the rerolls, especially contested. You just need more gold to be able to hit, and that means you need more time to hit. Sully doesn't have time being on 44 HP.
Yeah, does he have time to prep? He's gonna try. He's gonna play prep. He's gonna start looking potentially for Kaisa, start prepping them, but it's gonna be a little tough to make this happen. He's able to pick up an extra Kaisa here. He's on 5 now. Wow, okay.
He's
There's
on
6 and 7.
Wait a second.
7 Kaisa.
Is there a world? There's no world he hits Kaisa 3 right now, right?
Is he just rolling down for it because it's contested? I mean, he's just trying.
He's also rolling for Jax. He needs Jax to complete the 3 Shimmer Scale and 2 Bruiser synergy.
Yeah, there we go.
So
and he did find it.
He needs to roll anyway, and it's worth, especially at 7, it's definitely worth digging a little. Generally, Sox has talked about perfect 0 with rolling for your units. Perfect 0 with 2 costs is generally at 7 copies at 50 gold, but it's worth digging a little for that 8th copy, even on these lower amounts of gold. And if you hit the 8th Kaisa on 3-2, congrats, you are now digging pretty deep, because once you hit that 3-star Kaisa, stage 3 is it is the earliest you're going to hit it generally, any kind of realistically, but that's still absurd.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy. That roll down was working very well for Sully. If he can find those last 2 Kaisas, it's huge, because it is a contested composition right now. However, maybe it's helping out that there is a Yone player. I wonder if there's any other 2 costs that are being kind of aggressively pulled out of the pool. Because we've got that note there. Wei Iverson grabbing a Mage Emblem from a Tome. We might see some direction there. Namzi is notably not a Mage this game, so it won't be a Namzi direction of Mage. Might just see Sohm as the option instead for Wei Iverson.
Yeah, I imagine that is going to be a Sohm, and we're going to get to see some of his knowledge of some of the other AP comps. I imagine he saw that Sully is so far ahead on Kaisas, even being so far down in HP, that it is worth it to pivot out. I've talked about, hey, on ladder, you're a 2020 degen, you never pivot. It does not matter. You take your 8th and move on, but in 6 games, you never want to take an 8th, so in this scenario, it is 100% correct for him to try and find some other direction with maybe that Sohm angle instead.
Sag got his Volibear stuck in the corner. Gonna have to reposition after this fight, but still should be able to take down Spicy Appy. Spicy Appy's board still looking incredibly weak. Down to 57 HP, actually approaching Sully for lowest HP, and with Sully's roll down, Sully is certainly stronger than Appy's on that board, so we'll see how Appy's starts to make moves pretty soon here, I imagine, with that low of HP here on stage 3. You take a look over at some of the augments. Again, more generics being picked up, but Trickbee picks up Scorch, so it's likely we're going to see a Xayah angle from him.
I believe he played some Xayah yesterday too, so him taking the Scorch and just committing to that Xayah angle doesn't exactly surprise me. I do think, though, this lobby is now shaping up to be 4 people who wanted to reroll for a 2 cost, and two of them just hit an incredible number of copies super early that the other 2 were saying, hey, I can't realistically go for this comp anymore. And it's also 2 very different stories of how they adapt. Wei Iverson is very healthy, is able to go for the Mage's angle instead. Appy's is not healthy. He's now approaching Sully in health and finds the Zippy too. That should help stabilize him a little bit, but he's on the struggle bus right now trying to make his way to Deja.
Yeah, I mean, Lucky on this 100 HP win streak just found a Zippy 2 himself, able to jam Warmogs and an Ionic Spark. This is a very powerful board for Lucky. at this stage. And even though Appy's rolled down extremely hard on 7, he hit a Jace and he was able to get the Zippy too. But it's still going to be a close fight here versus Lucky. I think the Jace might have been enough to make it happen. It looks like it will be, but still very close because the Zippy is just so strong in there with that Ionic Spark.
Appy's, I think, has the 4 Mirage as well, so that
No.
should help, but
Appy's
no.
actually loses.
The Zippy is just stronger for iLucky, and Appy's is on 0 gold, level 7, unhealthy, on a loss streak. Oh no, I'd say I'm seeing a repeat of yesterday, but the repeat of yesterday was barely scraping it into finals. Appy's needs a top 2 today.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be able to get away with the performance that he had on day 1 here in day 2. This game looking very tough for Appies. One game will not keep you out of top 2, but taking an 8th at any point today is a massive blow to your chances of making it to the regional final. So Appy's going to do everything that he can to avoid that.
Yeah, and that's where just picking up every point possible comes into play. There's a good chance that Appy's is going to be donkey rolling on 7 the whole game, trying and just avoiding that 8th place, picking up a couple points. Maybe a 7th is going to be his most realistic option from this spot, unless he hits a Deja relatively soon. Or if he picks up a 6th, then he's in a much better spot. It's just about avoiding 8th, and is he able to do that? Is he able to keep that mental intact today?
Yeah, this Zippy's so strong. It's funny. This is something that Crone and I talked a ton about at Dragon Cup that we watched in day 1 and day 2, is just finding Zippy somewhere in stage 3, trying to 2-star it as you head into stage 4. And a lot of times that 2-star Zippy will win streak you through stage 3. It may even win streak you through stage 4. And it was so strong on day 1 and 2, and it disappeared on day 3 and 4 of Dragon Cup. And then now we didn't see it at all yesterday, but here in the finals, we've got some Zippies, some Zippy 2s being played to try and bridge that mid game. And Lucky is the one who is getting dividends from it, still on that 100 HP win streak as we head into Wolves, which is absolutely insane. Jumping on board though with Renzer now, and also playing Guild, also having a Zippy in, just on a loss streak here, but was able to have a 4 loss into Wolves, which is really nice for Renzer.
Just the complete opposite of what we were seeing yesterday. We're seeing a bunch of dragons, we're seeing a bunch of reroll, and now, okay, we barely saw Guild yesterday. Apparently today we're gonna see a bunch of Guild, and it looks like Renzer might also be angling for the Deja best friends 2nd win. These are really good augments
Sully.
for it. Sully hits the
hit.
Kaisa 3. 4-1, a little late, all things considered, considering 7 Kaisas on 3-2. But that's not great for Appies. It's not great for TrickP either, who's down there at 40 HP even with the metabolic. So we're gonna have some players in the bottom half fighting for some placements, while Sully looking to win streak it back. Appies has found the Deja, after all, has the Zippy 2 with some relatively solid items actually. So looking to stabilize, looking to bring it back now.
It does mean that Sully was able to fully prep that Kaisa as well, so that's going to be a very strong board
True.
down there. It is a gold augment prep that was fully done onto the Kaisa. I'm sure Sully's going to be able to prep the rest of the pieces that are going in as well, and now he's stabilized with that Kaisa. Appies is going to be a bit more stable now on that Deja, but if Appies can find a Deja 2, this can turn from a really rough spot to a top 4. There's a think fast on our screen. How fast we thinking? We're not, because there was a Guild option as well for Renzer. He's going to just take Guild and level up, start looking aggressively for that Zaya. For now, he finds
2
some
Dejas?
Dejas, though. Here's the Zaya. He's got an option. Decision point, skips it. So he's going Deja.
Deja or the Ao Shin is the other option. Guild Ao Shin is the late game variant that a lot of players have been going to, but 2-star Deja at this point would be stronger if he can find that. Appies cannot catch a break ever.
Yeah,
He's just running into contesting all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, Renzer doesn't find the Deja 2, but does find a Yasuo. And while playing all these Mirages, Yasuo is going to get a ton of value from that trait and just be incredibly strong on 4-2 to have a Yasuo with, this much Mirage in. Didn't end up having items for him, but still, this is a strong unit for a couple rounds, and potentially Renzer can itemize it in a carousel in the Dragon round.
Yeah, we're seeing, we saw a couple players who are greeting their level 8s and their roll downs for level 8. A lot of lobby rolled on 7. We saw TrickP had to roll down on 7, but unfortunately runs into Renzer with the level 8 board. Is is the Zippy going to get it done for Renzer? The Deja is firing. It looks like it
Oh,
will
for
get
sure.
it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Renzer with the level 8, able to beat out TrickP. TrickP spot looking kind of rough now.
Yeah, TrickP in a really tough spot. Has metabolic, so has also been healing all throughout this game and is still down to 28 HP. Really needs that Xayah 2. And Appy's getting a Tactician's Crown. I think Appy's was just being able to stabilize, and I think a Tactician's Crown can be a big boon for continuing that and potentially turning this into a top 4. The worry is how strong Sully and Renzer are, trying to stay afloat above them. TrickP looking like the likely candidate for an 8th place in this game.
I think that's going to be the conversation of this game, right? It's game 1. You're trying to you're trying to have a solid start. You're trying to get every placement possible. And in this bottom 4, there is a decent HP gap between Appy's in 5th and Sag in 4th, that 20 HP. And you've got 2 players, Appy's and TrickP, who are trying to kind of just hang on. But you have Sully and Renzer, who have gotten really strong. And Appy's, it looks like, has gotten strong himself, now on a win streak, especially with that Tactician's Crown. TrickP is just kind of getting his butt handed to him right now.
Yeah, Appy's finding that win streak. We see wins from Appy, Sully, and Renzer, the 3 that it did feel like were able to stabilize these loss streak positions. TrickP, however, not looking good at all in this spot. Just not able to hit the Xayah 2. I think it could have made a huge difference. He would have won that last fight against Sully if that was the Xayah 2 versus the Xayah 1 with how close it was. And TrickP just not being able to catch a break, being so low on gold. As we take a look at these prismatic augments that were picked up, we've got a binary for Sag, who's been one of the most impressive players for just maintaining HP, kind of in the middle of the pack this time around. But binary with portable forge and shimmer scale, that's a lot of options to create a ton of value, and we're going to get a chance to see just how much he's been able to do. And yeah, that's a lot of binary value on the board right now. We also had a couple earth grab bags, item grab bags, and we'll continue to talk about that more as we go on. But Sully picking up the Dragonmancer's Soul is another big one to look out for, because that's going to continue to increase that value of the Kai'Sa.
I love the binary pickup with the vertical shimmer scale. With all these items you're getting from shimmer scale, it's just more binary value. The problem is sometimes you run into too many items. You're only getting now 3 items from binary when potentially you could be getting binary value on every unit on this board. Just a few too many items, although I imagine by the time he hits a later game, he's going to be dropping out of... He could drop out of the vertical shimmer scale. He could opt to just stay here, but he's getting a lot of item value from binary right now, is able to steamroll over Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, either way, once he gets to the dragon horde here, he's going to be able to kit out the rest of the board with getting shimmer items. Or not shimmer items, but binary items, and potentially turn, you know, this spatula could find another spat, turn it into Tactician's Crown. There's a lot of things that can happen. And as you mentioned, you could also just pull back the shimmers, reduce the amount of shimmers you have on board, use this to maybe scale into a level 9, look for a late game dragon board, and pull out the shimmers from there, kit them all out with your binary.
Yeah, it also depends on what order these shimmer scale items end up coming out in. I know we had the Mogul's Mail as the first one at 3 shimmer scale. I'm not 100% sure what the 5 shimmer scale item is. If it is the Determined Investor and later to become Diamond Hands, then you might consider just dropping down to 5 shimmer scale. But for now, going into Sully's board, Sully actually found a Dragonmancer Crown as his 3rd augment. So very, very, very strong prismatic augment for him, just boosting up the power of that Kai'Sa.
Oh yeah, very big for Sully to pick up. Kai'Sa incredibly strong, but still Sag able to find that win, as we see TrickP drop in 8th, never able to stabilize from that position. We're going to jump on board with Appy's, who has just taken a loss after win streaking for a while. Had felt like Appy's had stabilized. Now we'll see if the Dragon Horde can actually help him continue to stabilize. This is an Ascended Death Cap and another Death Cap on there, and wow, that's going to be Appy's take.
Yeah, you can put the Ascended Death Cap. One roll finds a Jace to put the other Death Cap on. But he is able to find the Deja pair, so that's good. But he is still contested by Renzer, who now is on the win streak of his own. If Appy's can't find this Deja 2, this is a good, strong board for stage 5. I just worry that's going to fall off. And he is capped out at around a 5th, especially with how strong Renzer and Sully are.
All right, and speaking of Renzer, picking up a Jace 2, I think that's going to be a nice pickup. Sully upgrading his Dragonmancer is going to continue to buff up that Kai'Sa. And Appy's really needing to find that last Deja. It would be so massive for him to just stabilize if he could get to that Deja 2. At least the items are solid, so this Deja is going to be cranking out a ton of damage in these fights. It's just, is Deja 1 going to be enough for Appy's to hold on for a top 4?
Appy's is also able to basically get to 6 Mirage for free, quote unquote, with the Mirage Emblem and the Tactician's Crown, able to just add a Leona and get 6 Mirage in, which is a pretty big jump from 4 to 6 Mirage. So that's helping him a lot. It's helping him to just absolutely run over this fight against Sag. Sag, who I believe is sacking to level 9, making this fight a little bit easier for Appy's. Appy's has actually gotten a little bit of help in his matchmaking. He hit Renzer on 4-1, who was sacking that one round in order to go level 8, able to hit Sag, who is sacking to level 9, just sitting on his gold. So Appy's getting a little bit of help from the matchmaking RNG, though. We're seeing Sag go to level 9
wow.
now, get some rolls in.
Yeah, immediately finds a pair of Shyvanas. Gonna start to look. I mean, this is what, I mentioned we might see Sag do, is just use that Shimmer scale to make enough money, go to 9, then you start pulling out these Shimmer items, or at least some of them. Like, still gonna play 7 Shimmer though with the dragons for now.
Yeah, able to get a decent board online, got the Terra in, still has the 7 Shimmer scale in, runs into Renzer, who has the guild emblem Deja 2, and that's where Appy's Dejas are right now. So even though Sag is level 9, he was only able to get a couple of rolls in, so not the strongest board right now. A relatively slow transition. Looks like he is going to take this fight loss to Renzer, so not the greatest transition for him, but he is a little bit healthy at 33, although that's not quite what you want to see when you're not super far ahead of the lobby.
Yeah, still a close fight, not a bad loss. One more transitional turn. Has the ability to use that champion duplicator to turn this into a Shyvana 2, but actually naturals it. So still gonna have a champion duplicator to potentially go for Aoshin 2 if that Aoshin is found. There's already one. And we've got the 5 dragons in, have a duplicator on the bench. This is a very strong position for Sag, especially if they can just find one more Aoshin. They've got some gold to roll through. Not going to do it on this turn. Going to be able to econ a little bit, but this board is real close and real scary to getting fully capped.
This is, oh my god, it's always the slow transitions for these players. We were calling some of them out yesterday, and Sag on 24 health, not the transition he needed. Wei-Jin Iverson, 16 HP, just got a nice little boost from Sag on the slow transition, down to 1 life.
Yeah, that's a really rough misplay here from Sag, just being too slow on that, because now he's got 1 life left, and he's got to make it happen with this board. He has to win out, and the board is strong. It's possible that he can make this board win out with the items he's got, with the augments, having binary on everything. He's got enough items to make it happen. He's got the champion duplicator. He can get to Aoshin 2. He can get to Terra 2, whichever one he needs to find. But it's going to be tough because now he cannot lose. And there are other strong boards in this lobby with all those prismatics coming through.
This HP in this lobby has really tightened up. Wei-Jin Iverson actually fell from very far ahead all the way down to 16 HP with that Sohm, but
He found both.
He found both Aoshin and Terra for Sag. He's got to decide which one to duplicate. There's the Terra, and he's going to duplicate the Aoshin, so he's in a strong position now. But with Wei-Jin Iverson falling down, the HP has really tightened up. It's only 14 HP separating Lucky in second and Wei-Jin Iverson 16. Every point of HP matters right now.
There we go. Just going to build full items on Terra, not worrying about the value of binary because they wanted to have these specific items on the Aoshin, on the Terra. We're going to see once that cast comes through, can it take down Sully, who's got a pretty damn capped Dragonmancer Kai'Sa board. Here comes the cast through, and then should be enough with the tier 2 Aoshin, even though that is so much health on the Kai'Sa. She's going to get a couple more casts, but she's going to go down to Terra, and Sag stays alive a little bit longer. Gonna stay alive a little bit longer.
Bramble Vest, Terra 2, just face tanking the Kaisa. Good item build from Sag, I guess, in the end of it.
All right, now checking in with Lucky, also moving towards a late game dragon board at level 9, just doing it a little bit slower here, having the Ao Shin, having some more HP to play with as well. And that's an Ao Shin with some Radiant items on the line. Those are some crazy good Radiant items grabbed from the Radiant Relics.
I imagine the duplicator is going to come in as well. That is a terrifying Ao Shin too. This is really three very good items, and 2 of them are Radiant. This Ao Shin, once it casts, boards are just gone.
Yeah, Sag able to dodge Lucky this time because Sag is in the pool. There's a chance that Lucky would actually just take out Sag even with that high dragon board, just depending on if this Ao Shin would cast first. Wage Iverson, though, going to run face first into this Ao Shin. Was kind of close for a second there from the Sohm. Actually, still, it didn't take them all down.
Wait.
Wow.
The front line just isn't good enough.
It's the Mystic Soul as well, being able to give that extra magic resistance. Or the Mystic, the Mystic Soul, yeah.
Renzer is dead? Wait, no, he's alive. 1 health.
1 HP.
What
The
is this
HP's
lobby?
getting so close. Look, Appy's at 6, Sag at 6, Renzer at 1. Even Sully in danger once we move to that next round of just going down in 1 hit at the 14. Renzer finding a Shroud. That is a nice pickup at this stage in the game.
Especially if your name is Sully, Appies, or Renzer, you are going to be heartbroken whoever gets 7th here after all this on 6-1, after all this clawing back you did, and to just eat a 7th after all of it. Whoever takes that placement they're going to be heartbroken. You just already know it.
All right, Renzer's got so much gold. Let's go. Find out what you're going to do. Just going to level the 9 play Yasuo. That is very strong, though, in this situation. Playing the Deja gets up to 4 Mirage. Kind of the perfect hit for Renzer to go to 9.
8 guild Deja with a Yasuo pair. Honestly, as long as Renzer can dodge the dragon boards, he should be good to go. 8 guild, yes, it saw some nerfs, but it's still a very powerful trait, especially when you have the crest on your carry. It's just a whole boatload of stats, so he's going to end up into Soul Reaver, who has found the Yone 3 and is on 50 gold. He's sacking level 9. That is very fortunate for Renzer.
Yeah, also has that Lilia 3. It's going to be doing a lot of damage applying that Morellos to the front line, but the Yasuo getting some really good CC, and the carries of Soul Reaver are just in the grinder that is the Deja right now. So Renzer going to hold on and have another opportunity to find that Yasuo too, which could make a huge difference in this game. And Appy's is the one who falls in 7th. Cannot find the win in that round, and after all that, with Lucky on 2, Renzer on 1, and Sag on 9, Appy's is the one who falls first into that 7th place spot.
Is Appy's having the most low roll tournament ever, or just what is happening? This close of an HP field, he clawed back and then just ate the 7th. It's 16 HP for Wage Iverson in first.
Everyone in this lobby wants those spots in regionals so bad. To have a game 1 that is this close, this tight, this big of a fight between all these players is exactly what you want to see out of the day 2 of a last chance qualifier, because this is just setting the tone for the rest of the day. Everyone can come back after this. It's not the end of the world to get the bottom placements, but it's gonna feel like it, and you're gonna have to keep fighting back, especially Trick Pete and Appy's with that 7th and 8th. But this fight, is Renzer going down? It looks like he might be as well. The Deja gonna get taken out by the Neela, and that's gonna be Renzer falling, and just 1 HP difference between Renzer and Lucky. Lucky gonna finish in 5th, Renzer in 6th. It's a heartbreak for Renzer.
It's heartbreak for all these bot 4 players, and if your name is Sag, you are so happy you hung on and that slow transition didn't punish you, but the slow transition did end up punishing guys like Appy's and Renzer. Sag's just not able to quite kill off the lobby in time. These strong players just not quite getting it done in time to kill off the slightly weaker players.
Sag lost this last fight and is only alive because they had the Soraka 2 in for, I believe, 2 rounds. And that kept them high enough HP that they survived. The Soraka saved multiple placements for Sag. Now we've got the Aoshin. Can it cast? It got hit by the Shroud. It's taking forever to get to the cast, but now it's there and it should be enough. Those items are insane. So much damage coming through. Soul Reaver going to be the one who takes the hit here. Sag has outlived Sully as well. Sully going out in 4th. Braum living forever, but it is going to
welcome
fall.
to Braum things.
And Soul Reaver does kill enough units, though, to outplay Sully. Sully in 4th, Soul Reaver in 3rd. Sag and Weijin Iverson, our 2 best performing players from day 1, are going to kick off this lobby so strong, finishing 1st and 2nd. But who is going to be able to fight for that 1st? Because Weijin Iverson's transition, I'm not sure if it was as strong as what Sag was able to get to after that slow move. It's just a Sohm versus this Cap Dragon board.
It's just Sohm, but it is a pretty capped out version of Sohm. We have the Zoe 2, we have a Mage Bard 2, because sure. And so Weijin Iverson has capped out around what his board is. Is it going to be enough to beat the dragons? I'm not sure. But for Soul Reaver and Sully, honestly expected they're going out in 3rd and 4th with the reroll comps that are just getting outscaled by these other dragon boards. For Weijin Iverson and Sag, though, we could be seeing the final fight.
Beautiful
Zephyr on the Sohm
from Sag onto the Sohm. That's going to be massive. As we're still looking at the Bard to get the freeze. Gets the double freeze because of the Mage Cap. Still waiting on the Aoshin cast. It is going to come out. Still has that Zhonya's Hourglass. Going to protect, but it's not doing enough. It looks like the Sohm board still going to cut it. Weijin Iverson starting the day with a 1st to continue on to those 3 bonus points that he earned yesterday, building a nice lead to kick off the